Be me. Hears that Expedition 33 is an amazing game. Sees how it blows out the 2025 Game Awards. No idea what it's about. Skeptical about how good it can actually be. Buys it when it goes on sale. Experiences a masterpiece. Absolute cinema. So I already know I'm going to get hate from certain parts of the gaming community for this one, just from the title alone. But before you destroy the dislike button and type, "Oh my god, how can you criticize this game? It was absolutely perfect and flawless in every way. It's literally the best game ever," please let me state my case. This isn't a review of the game, it's more like a rant video, and as it's intended for people who have already played or watched the game, there's absolutely going to be story spoilers, so just be warned if you haven't played the game through all the way to the ending. For starters, I was wrong to think, well, Expedition 33 can't be that good, there's no way it can live up to the hype. It did, in fact, live up to the hype.
Get out of my way!
Okay.
Yeah, boy.
I can absolutely see now why E33 won so many awards that it did. This game has me hooked and I'm not gonna try and deny it. It even got me to face the reality that France is an actual country and not just a nation that has a waving white flag as their national symbol. Please don't crucify me, my family tree is literally half French. Maybe that's why I hate myself so much. Let's list off some things that I think are absolutely goated with the sauce. The soundtrack is so tight.
This house music is also tight.
Whether you're in the overworld, traveling through a new area, or going against a boss, the music is banging, even if I can't understand half the words because they're in French and my Canadian ass never learned to be bilingual. Plus, the official album is on Spotify and YouTube, so you can listen there anytime. I think this is my first JRPG since playing Final Fantasy VIII as a kid, and even though I was skeptical of the gameplay at first, I learned to love it. There's a common sentiment around certain gamers that turn-based equals bad, which is absolutely false, but not gonna lie, I was a little bit worried about that too. Thankfully, I was dead wrong, and despite being turn-based, I was on the edge of my seat trying to time those damn parries, which made me remember the first time fighting Margit in Elden Ring, with how much the enemies would delay their attacks and screw up my parry timing. Making a build for each character is also really interesting, creating synergies with each other and building off of each character's strength and unique abilities. The characters and voice performances were top-notch. You have some legendary actors such as Charlie Cox, Andy Serkis, Ben Starr, and Jennifer English, alongside a myriad of others that bring phenomenal emotion to the scenes they're in. The characters all feel special with their own personalities that really get to shine in certain situations. Despite being made in Unreal Slop 5, the devs made such gorgeous visuals. The overworld is such a fantastic and fascinating depiction of what a scaled-down continent would look like. Level designs were so unique and beautiful to look at, and fighting was a treat for the eyes with how each elemental attack differed visually. The premise of the game is what really intrigued me. What I'm about to say in terms of the story isn't meant to be a complete recap, just the Cliff Notes version to set up my thoughts later. The story essentially starts out as a generational race against time. A fracturing of the world occurred 67 years ago, and each year the paintress draws a number on her monolith counting down from 100, erasing anyone of that age when she does, in an event known as gommage, which for my fellow non-French speakers is literally translated as to erase. Each year, the people of Lumiere send out expeditions to find out more about the world and attempt to kill the paintress, though little to none return to bring back knowledge of what they've found. Hence the name Expedition 33, this being the expedition of the gommage year 33. With the population growing younger and sparser as time goes on, the citizens of Lumiere become more desperate to end the cycle afflicting their people. Many choose to embark on these expeditions as part of their last year of life, despite knowing with near certainty that they would die a mysterious death. They're trying to pave the way for those that come after. In Act 1, we see pretty much all of our allies get slaughtered in a D-Day Normandy-style landing, and it seems that the journey is finished before it even begins. With no knowledge of how to actually fight unknown monsters, almost everyone is wiped out in a matter of minutes. Ironically, this is one of the harder endgame areas you can visit, and Lune had the brilliant suggestion of landing there first. We spend the majority of Act 1 as Gustav, collecting our missing expeditioners and trying to find another way to cross the sea and face the Paintress at her monolith. In a twist that was slightly foreshadowed, Gustav is killed fighting off the white-haired man who is keen on stopping any expeditioners from reaching the monolith. Rip to my man Gustav. When one falls, we continue.
I have crippling depression.
In Act 2, we're put in the shoes of Verso, a shifty bugger who always seems to be hiding the truth with lies, wink wink, nudge nudge, and clearly has some ulterior motive. Through him and the rest of the expedition, we learn more and more about the world, piece by piece, though a lot of what we learn is very vague and shrouded in mystery. This act is where my enjoyment and excitement of the game was at its highest. We gain the ability to explore a bit more of the continent, unraveling the path of the previous expeditions while making our way towards the end goal of killing the Paintress. We find out that the white-haired man is Renoir, Verso's dad, and that Verso and his family have been granted immortality by the Paintress, and Renoir doesn't want to let that gift go. After a series of side quests, we gain the ability to pierce the veil around the monolith, and after a lengthy dungeon we defeat Renoir, and Mayel mysteriously gains the ability to gommage people, so she uses it to make Renoir disappear. We stroll up to the Paintress and defeat and gommage her as well, ending her ability to paint death once and for all. Then we fly back to Lumiere on the back of a giant marshmallow man to the celebrations of the rest of the city. However, it turns out that the Paintress wasn't actually painting death. She was painting life against an unknown force that was actually painting death, and every year she was getting weaker and forced to let more and more people die. So when we killed her, we stopped her from keeping everyone alive, and a wave of death flows over the city as everyone is gommaged. This is the end of Act 2, and unfortunately where I believe the story takes a turn for the worse. Several plot twists are revealed to us that drastically change the context of the game. It turns out that the world we've been playing through is actually a painting made by the real Verso, who is from the Desandra family. The Desandras are part of a group called the Painters that have the magical ability to paint living pieces of art by using a piece of their soul. The Verso that we know is also just a painting. The real one died in a fire some time ago, saving his younger sister, Alicia, who was badly wounded and scarred. Struck with grief, Verso's mother, Aline, aka the Paintress, entered Verso's one and only canvas to deal with her pain, as it's the only part of his soul left in the world. However, spending too much time inside a painting causes you to be sick and you'll eventually die inside. The real Renoir, who we've known as the Curator, also entered the canvas to try and bring Aline out and erase the entire painting so that Aline can grieve in a healthy way. The two have been battling it out, which caused the fracturing of the world in the Gommage Year 100. Renoir is trying to destroy the painting while Aline is trying to keep it alive, but her power is waning, which is what's causing more and more citizens of Lumiere to die each year. Alicia entered the canvas in Gommage Year 49 to help Renoir get their mother out and was actually reborn as our Mayel when she entered the painting. The Renoir we know and killed was actually one of Aline's creations made to stop anyone that tried to kill her. Our Verso, the one who does not exist outside the painting, was aware of all of this as he was painted by Aline to be an almost exact replica of the actual Verso. Therefore, he wants to expel his mother from the painting so she doesn't die in it, while also wanting to die himself because he knows he's essentially a figment of someone else's imagination and doesn't want to live forever. The reason that I don't like the sudden change in direction is because it essentially deems the rest of the game to be unimportant. The narrative from this point on is laser focused towards the Desandra family and how they are processing the trauma of their lost son. Being in the painting is akin to having an addiction and refusing to come to terms with loss. There's some real philosophical questions to be asked here. However, that's not the game I was sold on and enjoying up to this point. Before Act 3, we battled with the meaning of generational sacrifice, knowing you'll die at a young age, and death being a staple of everyday life in Lumiere. Some choose to spend their final year of life in peace, while others went out on expeditions to fight against death itself and prevent it from happening again. We find recordings of previous years throughout the world describing how they made an impact and laying the foundation for those who come after. We explored the rich world because we wanted to uncover its secrets and unravel the mysteries of the universe. The premise of fighting a godlike being under the pressure of a doomsday clock threatening to wipe out your entire existence is so cool. Unfortunately, a lot of that sense of wonder and whimsy is taken away at the third act revelation. While the world is still real in the sense that its inhabitants are sentient, it feels hollow. The entire painting is just the continent we explore with no real meaning behind the secrets. The majority of the world was created by the real Verso when he was just a kid, and it's stated multiple times that Verso doesn't even like painting that much, he prefers music instead. Aline and Renoir battle it out in the monolith for control of the painting with no real care of the inhabitants of Lumiere or the rest of the beings in the world. Renoir wanted to erase everyone in one fell swoop, but Aline wanted to keep it all alive, and in doing so literally prolonged the generational sufferings of all the Lumerians by decades. The painters are portrayed as rich entitled brats who don't care for the literal sentient beings they create, it's just a playground for them. The main story of Act 3 involves stopping Renoir from destroying the painting. Through her newly acquired paintress powers, Maëlle is able to revive the rest of the party, and they all fly back to Lumiere to defeat Renoir. After the fight, Verso and Maëlle come to a disagreement and face off against each other, and you're given a choice. You can play as Verso, who actually wants to destroy the painting like Renoir did, because he's tired of living as a copy of a person in a make-believe world. Or you can play as Maëlle, who wants to live in the painting until she dies from sickness, enjoying the life with her new family and the brother whom she lost in the fire. I'm not even going to discuss the merits of each choice because ultimately that's not the issue I have. No matter what choice you make, Renoir is going to eventually destroy the canvas in the end so the rest of his family can grieve in peace. The issue I have is that we're brought to this moment in the first place. Throughout the whole game, I only cared about the Lumerians and their plight against death itself. I was devastated when Sophie and the rest of the 33-year-olds disappeared in the Gommage without any hope of fighting back. My jaw dropped when the 33rd expedition landed on the beach and got wiped out instantly by fake Renoir and the Nevrons. I felt deeply for Gustave when he thought he was the only survivor and was prepared to end his life. And I was incredibly heartbroken when Gustave fought hopelessly against fake Renoir and died in the process. Hell, Luné and Ciel don't even have any agency in Act 3. They get no choice in the matter of the fate of their world despite being part of the party since Act 1. In Act 3, we're meant to sympathize with the Dessandras, but in the end, I just do not care about them. Their struggles were sort of foreshadowed throughout some of the journals we find throughout the game, but that's not enough to make me feel any kind of emotional attachment. They're a wealthy and powerful family deciding the fate of the inhabitants of the painting on a whim. Now, I'm not opposed to the kind of story developed in Act 3. In fact, I thought the twist of Renoir being a caring father and wanting the best for his family was actually a solid development. If Sandfall Interactive wanted to start with that kind of story, it could have been interesting. However, they didn't, and I think the premise of the original story from the first 2 acts was much more interesting. I don't want to say the rug was pulled out from under me, but that's almost what it feels like. We started with a story about communal strength, overcoming insurmountable odds, finding the strength to fight for those who come after, leaving a trail for future generations. Then we pivoted to a story about a grieving family with the inhabitants of Lumiere simply as the backdrop. It felt like the writers were trying to duct tape 2 very different stories together. Somebody on Reddit described it very succinctly. It's like we're invited to have a barbecue at a friend's place, but when it got time to eat, we were offered an apple instead. Sure, I do enjoy a good apple, but my expectations were set for a barbecue, so naturally, I was disappointed. Despite my whinging, I'm still going to enjoy Expedition 33 as much as I can. The game is still amazing, and I have plenty of side content left to explore and dungeons to beat. Unfortunately, with everything I've just discussed, the game went from being absolutely perfect to end up as a 9 out of 10. Yes, I think it's in contention for being at least in the top 10 greatest games of all time, but I cannot help but wonder what the game could have been if Sandfall Interactive stuck the landing. But, to quote Verso at the end of the game, see things as they are, not how you want them to be. I hope this video doesn't ruffle too many feathers. In fact, I bet a portion of the fanbase is going to instantly click the dislike button for the mere thesis of the video. I'm vocal in my criticism because I loved everything else the game had to offer, and when Sandfall Interactive inevitably makes another title, whether or not it's set in the same universe, I want them to knock it out of the park. But what do you guys think? Are you in concurrence with my arguments, or do you think I just spouted a load of poppycock? Make your voice heard in the comments, for those who come after.